Today I'm going to show you how I make P.F. Chang's chicken lettuce wraps at home. I'll be using a simple recipe for the sauce and making garnishes. This is going to be so good. Here we go. So what I like to do is use dried shiitake mushrooms. I would say this would be about 5. I have 1 giant one and 3 small ones, but 5 dried shiitake mushrooms works for this recipe. And I am just going to submerge these in very hot water. I have a hot water dispenser, so that's what I'm using. And it only takes around 15 to 20 minutes to get these softened and soaked. In the meantime, let's work on the very simple sauce. I'm going to be using oyster sauce, regular soy sauce, dark soy sauce, and Shaoxing cooking wine. I'm also going to add sugar to taste. There are so many variations to making this sauce. You could even buy it from the store. But I'm going to start out with small measurements of all of these ingredients and work my way up and taste it throughout the cooking process. So I'm going to start with a tablespoon of oyster sauce. I'm also going to be adding the soy sauces. Here I'm adding the cooking wine, and just to get any of that residual soy sauce, I'm going to pour that in and add sugar to taste. Start with a teaspoon. And this is sort of like the base for the sauce. And here I've chopped up all of my soaked shiitake mushrooms, and I'm going to add some of the steeping liquid into the sauce as well. This will also add a little bit of that mushroom flavor to the sauce. And like I said, you can adjust the sauce to your taste, but start out with small quantities. So in a preheated pan, I'm going to add some cooking oil. And now what I'm going to do is saute the whites of scallion. And I'm also going to add a teaspoon of grated ginger. And I'm just going to start to saute both of these to get things very aromatic. Now I'm going to add a pound of ground chicken. You could also use a pound of chicken breast and mince that, or my favorite would be boneless, skinless chicken thighs, but I did not have that today, so I'm going with this ground chicken. And I'm just going to start cooking this in the pan. You can add a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder into the mix. I'm just going to add the garlic powder here, and I'm also going to be adding fresh garlic, but I just want to sort of season the chicken a little bit. And before I forget, I'm going to add like a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. That's going to go in. Or you could use some of your favorite garlic, salt, and pepper blends. It really depends on what you have at home. That's the beauty of homemade food. Okay, so continue breaking this apart. I'm going to cook this through. And now that it's cooked through, I'm going to add some grated carrots, like maybe a 1/3 cup. Here I'm adding 2 cloves of minced garlic. I'm also going to add those shiitake mushrooms. It's like a 1/2 cup. And water chestnuts. These came out of a can, and I just sort of diced them a little bit smaller. That's going to go in. And all I'm going to do now is combine everything and just continue the saute. And be sure once the chicken is cooked, just taste for salt and seasoning and adjust to your preference. Okay, so here is the sauce, and this is what I'm starting with, but I can guarantee you, once I pour this in, I will be adding a little bit more of certain things depending on my taste and preferences. So I suggest you do the same. So that goes in, and I'm going to combine that. And again, I want a lot of this like liquid, residual water content and liquid to sort of evaporate as it sautés. And here I'm going to add a little more of that mushroom steeping liquid and dark soy sauce. I'm also going to give that a mix, pour that in. And the dark soy sauce is not super salty, but it does add that deep, rich color to the chicken. Okay, and now I'm going to add some more oyster sauce, maybe another tablespoon. I will be adding some extra sugar, a little more of that mushroom steeping liquid just to get things mixed, and then continue the saute, taste, and adjust. I'm going to add some more cooking wine and some onion powder. Shake that in. Now the green tops of the scallions, and this is pretty much almost done. I'm going to mix that, continue the saute for a couple of minutes, and this is done. And I can't stress enough to you to taste and adjust to your preference. I used to add rice vinegar into this, but my family prefers that I leave it out, so that's what I'm doing today. It's very simple, but so tasty. Okay, I'm going to show you how I make the crispy rice noodles. And every time I do this, I always forget that I really need to preheat this oil. but I'm using these thin angel hair rice noodles. You could use the thicker ones, but here's my mistake because I was in a hurry. The oil's not hot enough and I'm adding way too many of these noodles. You see how they're just frying? They're not puffing up and getting crispy. This is a mistake. You definitely need to preheat this oil to around 375, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and just sprinkle a little bit of these thread noodles into the oil. See? They just puff up and you scoop them out. It's a very quick process, but you cannot crowd the pan and you have to keep the cooking oil at a high heat. So I'm going to put that on a napkin in a bowl and just continue doing this. I wanted to show you that because I've made these chicken wraps several times here at home, and every single time I make these, I forget I have to do this in small batches. So there you go. Be sure to do that. Okay, I have my lettuce and I just kind of cut part of the lettuce. I didn't even peel them apart. Put that on a plate. And I'm going to start building this plate as if I'm at a restaurant. And if you want to know the secret to making these P.F. Chang's lettuce wraps, the secret ingredient is just make it at home because you can adjust the flavors, the saltiness, the sweet, the tangy if you want to add rice vinegar into the mix. It really does make a world of difference when you get to adjust things to your preference at home. And dare I say, I think this recipe, in my opinion, is better than P.F. Chang's chicken lettuce wraps. And if you want a tasty sauce on the side, you can mix a little bit of chili crisp oil with a splash of rice vinegar, sugar to taste, a little bit of soy sauce, and it's a good dipping sauce. Okay, so here's the plate, and I'm ready to dig in. Like I said, some things just taste better when you make it at home. And the reason why I decided to film and make this today is because I was looking for the P.F. Chang's chicken lettuce wrap sauce that they sell at the grocery store, and my local grocery store was out. So I thought, okay, I've made this before from scratch. Why not film it? And I'm glad I did because it never disappoints. I also want to mention that I really do love the tender and juicy boneless chicken thighs for this recipe, so you should give that a try as well. By the way, this was a good, fresh, crunchy, savory bite. So good. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.